There we go. Really, all I've got to do this evening, you'll be glad I'm not going to talk about methane or anything else. I will talk a little bit, I won't mention what Tom's doing though. One of the logics of setting up the Biorefining Research Centre was that it will change, hopefully, the dairy industry in this region from producing just a commodity like milk to producing very high products. So the impact on that could be massive for this region. We are answering Frank's, but we're a long way yet from that part of it here. But I'm just going to have some thoughts for just to start off the discussion. I put this one up because I love this photograph of the swan in Perth, Western Australia. 10,000 plastic bottles it was made from. And the reason they did that was that 44% of their litter in Western Australia were plastic bottles. But I want us to be positive this evening, so I put that one up as my positive slide. And this one is my, let's be honest and be realistic, and as the gentleman mentioned earlier, problems are much worse in other parts of the world, and this is a picture of a river in India. I'm now going to do something which is very dangerous, because I found on the web, and it's dangerous searching the web, isn't it? 35 million plastic bottles discarded every day. I didn't check whether that was right or not. I don't work for the BBC and I don't have a verified sort of department that could look at it. But if that is true, and based on a day having 24 hours, and based on the population in Dumfries and Galloway, since we came in this evening, 6,000 bottles have been discarded in Dumfries and Galloway. I think it might be possible. I was a bit doubtful, and then I saw the mistake we'd made with these plastic bottles of the water, and I thought, yeah, that 6,000 might be possible. It is. I think what it does say is there's a massive problem. Whether those figures are right or not, it isn't as important as, wow, it is a big problem. But it's a massive problem if that is correct. I think also that we should be quite proud in Dumfries and Galloway that we are doing some great things. We actually are doing a lot of really good things. And you could see that from this evening, especially, the bits, not only the bits before the break, but the research work that Tom's doing. This is a picture, I think it is Douglas Hewitt School doing their beach clean. But I want to put this one up as well of what we're doing. I think the reason there's lots of good things going on is the number of different organisations that are working together. That's come across to me quite a few times this evening, people saying working together. I put some of the logos up there, but there's other organisations and individuals. I do want to make a point though here that some of those are charities, some are working in other things, but actually our council comes in from a lot of criticism, the same as every other council does. But within the projects we've been involved in, Dumfries and Galloway Council, both from the recycling side and the education side, have been really good. So I think sometimes we knock our council a bit too much. They have been really good partners in this type of work. And the one with Dumfries and Galloway College, this media students, I think I'm right, Charles, that wasn't part of the original thought, that it would be media students that actually got involved in this project, and that's been really good. And I want to emphasize this bit about education being important. In our schools, in our colleges and universities, we've got Pacific courses. SIUC has got its courses. Glasgow University here has got environmental courses, and it's embedded within other courses as well. I think the education side is moving on that. But again, one of my sort of bugbears, if you like, is people say, oh, the schools should do more. And actually, I think a lot of that is in the home, that there needs to be more of this education everywhere, not just saying the schools need to do it, but we need to do it ourselves in our homes. More as well, but that education is important, and if we can, I think actually the younger generation is already ahead of, looking around the room, our generation in many respects with this. But I'm not against the responsible use of plastic. I think Miriam said something very similar in that. And the example I wanted to take is plastic on silage pits and big bales that we see around this region. That plastic has had an amazing effect on the quality of the feed we give the animals during the winter. That's improved the production, it's improved animal welfare, it's reduced the carbon footprint of producing milk and beef. So there's nothing wrong with plastic sheeting for silage. I think it's a great thing. What we've been really good at in our region is having companies that take that plastic sheeting and make garden furniture and other products out of it. That reuse of it is where it really is good, because I don't think I should say this, but I can remember when taking plastic sheets off silage pits, which we've got tires on, is a horrible job. But then that plastic was just put in the corner when nobody was looking, was burnt. Now, we've got rid of that situation now because of the companies that will pick it up and recycle it. So that it is good. Responsible use of plastic is good. I think we should have our discussion, though, not just on what other people can do, but what we as individuals can do, what I will do. So I'll just go through what I will do. Is buy non-plastic articles if they're available and affordable. I will be honest on that. I'm not going to be buying lots of non-plastic things if they're phenomenally a lot more expensive. But these pens are made from maize starch, and I do more recycling. I usually nick a pen from somewhere rather than actually buy one. But if I was going to buy a pen, I could now buy non-plastic pens very, very easily, and they're not more expensive. I had a look, and they're no more expensive. And you might, what do I going to do? What do I got this sheep feed tub for? Well, that exact feed tub, if you came round to our house and went into the utility room, is down at the bottom of our utility room. They are brilliant containers for using for different things. And in a region like this, we've got loads of them around. So reusing sort of containers like that, I think, is really, really good. We can do more help with litter picking. The example here is actually our mother club. That's what we should call them in Rotary. It's Dumfries Club doing their litter pick on the cycle path. We can help with that. But I think the last one is more important for me. Talking to others about the whole subject and not just keeping quiet about it. So, for example, for me, next week I'm at a meeting down at Borders College. I will actually ask them, what are they doing about their procurement policy and plastics? Now, before the meeting tonight, I'd never thought I would ask that question. It hadn't gone through my mind, but I wrote it down during the meeting. So I think that talking to others about it is mostly as important as the other three of what we can actually do. Will this work as a video? Click on it. Again, I found this on the web. Whether it's a true one or not, I don't know. I thought it was quite a moving video. But there is something quite sad about that, if that's the world we've got, where the tiger comes and picks that up. Come back to my last one, the quote that Charles used at the very start. We can't go back and change the beginning. So we can't go back and say, we're not going to have plastics. That's just not realistic, in my opinion. But you can start where you are and change the ending. I think that's a really useful thing for us to think about. We can't go back and say that we're not going to have plastics, but we can say, how are we going to change the ending? I think that's my last slide. It is. So that's my last point. But my point now is it's open to you, your comments, questions, disagreements with each other. They're not a bad thing, actually, to disagree and then sort of find a consensus. So completely open for any questions or comments. Go on, Tom.
You talked about education being key, especially with the young, they're going to be in this. You said people saying schools should be involved, you're saying it should be at home, but is there anything that makes a link
Go on and tell me what that is then. Other kids, isn't it? It's peer pressure. It's other kids, isn't it?
Internet availability as well, and what's on there.
Can I help out there? It's how you package it. Now, what we've found around, sorry, I'm interrupting
That's all right.
you. What we've found around the patch is there's champions. Where's a champion of a community, or as a champion in a school, or as a champion in a club? Well, we found a champion in Douglas Hewitt, who got 105 people onto Monterey Shore, 105 school kids. But it was her imagination that really helped, because it wasn't just about being on the shore. There was campsite cooking, so they were split into different groups. There was rock pool exploration. There was picking up plastic and examining the stories behind it. So if you have people who are champions and they have that verve and imagination, then things are really achievable. But when we're so complacent about it, it's difficult. I just thought I'd share that with you, because it's actually finding the right people to integrate and influence the right people.
No, I think as well, Greta Thunberg, she made a huge big impression on a lot of young people. When adults say exactly the same message, we just ignore it.
Okay, I don't know what happens in Dumfries and Galloway schools now, but Kintore Primary School in Aberdeen, they've got an eco committee which is run by the pupils in that school. I think that's the way it works, not having a teacher telling them what to do, but our eco committee doing it. No, Tom, Miriam's going to speak for you. I like this sort of authority I've got.
No, the Indian tears.
I think getting it seen as the norm as well while doing these things. I've noticed things like guilty pleasure. I love Coronation Street, but you see in that every now and again, people going to the cafe with a reusable cup and sort of things like that. And actually, if just every TV program made it look normal, that people use their reusables and don't litter and all this stuff, it would be good. But if you want to see it in everyday life, and it is the norm. It's not sort of like you're a weirdo if you do this stuff.
On that point of you're a weirdo, Tom?
I don't know whether anyone else agrees with this, but I've noted recently there's been a lot more stories about how plastics and things like seals with tyres around, they're portraying animals and the effect on wildlife, and I think that will hit home much harder than another beach clean photograph. We need more pictures of seals with tyres around their necks and puffins making nests out of plastic string. That's what we've got to use to really get the message home.
Yep.
So, do you think it would be more effective, like what they do with cigarettes, where they put a caption on the cigarettes of lung cancer statistics, if every time you buy a ball of twine, it has a picture of a puffin being strangled?
Maybe.
Yep.
But there is a bit of shifting baseline, isn't there, around that, in terms of like the plastic bag tax. You start with 5p, and everybody is promoted, think, oh, I'll bring my reusable, and then there's a slip, because the baseline shifts and 5p becomes acceptable, and then 10p, and where do you stop, in terms of that sort of behaviour change, and, watching David Attenborough embed the climate change and the wildlife impact into the ends of the Planet series. And David Attenborough says that we should stop the plastic cotton bud tips and the plastic, and it stops. And then then you need the next injection, and I think that exactly as you said, using those imageries until then they stop being effective. We have to keep constantly challenging ourselves to find the next thing. And coming back to school, we had a chat at the coffee break around. I worked as a conservation ranger before I started lecturing, and we had great engagement on this kind of subject matter in primary schools, and eco schools have been an amazing step forward. And we're very lucky to teach young adults in this arena. It's the curriculum for excellence. There's still a way to go in terms of really good, solid environmental lens, and places for students and kids to think more deeply about these things, because the pace of learning in secondary schools is so ferocious. It's having that time and space to really get onto these ethical questions and do something for themselves. And so how we fashion our secondary school education, I think, is something that we can
Tom?
It's just back to what the other Tom was saying. It's uncool. It's the name of the year. So, I'm not 60 years ago. 70 years ago. It'd been uncool, your teachers and what have you telling you what to do, and then talk about the subliminal Coronation Street with our cups. Do you think, who should be doing it? Do you think we should be signing up Taylor Swift or Harry Kane or Finn Russell or somebody like that to do it for just things on the telly, adverts on the telly? Finn Russell could kick a plastic bottle into touch or something like that.
We did have Stuart Hogg for our Recycle Week one year, promoting recycling, trying to get to a different audience. I don't know how effective it was, but...
He's persona
You need Mr. Beast to get the kids, but unfortunately he's launched a soft drinks brand, so contributing to the problem, not persuading them against it, sadly.
But you're right, there is an awful lot in that psychology. Your point I thought was really interesting, that I'm not likely to be persuaded by a discount, but I am likely to be persuaded if you put an extra charge on. That's an interesting sort of thing on the psychology, isn't it, of how we all operate here.
On that same vein, Dave, I mean, the thing that staggered me tonight more than anything else was the fact that 6,000, well, it's probably up to 9,000 bottles by now, being discarded in Dumfries and Galloway.
Do remember I said I wasn't sure about that, but...
I don't think the number matters, it's the fact that it's an enormous problem. And we've heard lots of initiatives for doing all sorts of things in school. Like, how do we get to these people? Because they are one of the major sources of problems that we see. And I don't have any ideas. I mean, I'm not going to face up to lorry drivers at traffic lights.
Well, the lorry drivers...
But these are the things I think we've got to try and make some really, like the beach cleans, but that's not visible to many people. If the roadsides were clear and there was an initiative to stop that happening, then I think we'd get a lot more people on board in other areas as well. And once we've got that going, then I think it becomes just more of a way of life for far more people. And I think my own thoughts are that the same thing applies equally, and again it's back to the bit of Korean plastic that we found. And, we also have a responsibility to try and spread this message and get it acted upon throughout the world. Because an awful lot of the pollution, I mean, I don't know where that's taken, but in places like Egypt and others, it's just rife with plastic everywhere that's flowing down to the sea.
I'll make one point and then I'll ask somebody else to say something. I think it comes back to value. If something's got a value, people will do something with it. It's not a wasted, isn't it? And it's making that plastic I've already used valuable, then I won't throw it away. That's the sort of point. On a litter point more, Frank, do you want to say anything about the tidiness of the station garden and how that has changed littering?
Yeah, I mean, in station garden, the one area we've taken over in the last 15 months was what we call the woodland area, which was really wasteland, being neglected. And so it was probably 2 or 3 feet deep in weeds, nettles, everything really. And always on a Monday when we started the shift, we'd spend the first hour just picking up rubbish. We've got the Waverley pub opposite. It could have been any pub, but we've got the Waverley pub opposite. You've got many people using the railway, and every form of litter, from not bad to extremely bad, was just left there. We cleared up over about 9 months. Yeah, we cleared the area of all the weeds, and we started to plant it with woodland plants. So it's become cultivated. And instead of looking over the fence and seeing a messy field, you see earth with plants around. We now spend on a Monday morning probably 2 minutes picking up rubbish. People respect the space. We are bothered about the space, so people become bothered about the space. It wasn't what we planned, But that's how it's happened.
The reason I asked Frank to say that, Charles, is because I think that people throw rubbish where there is rubbish. And if there isn't, then they won't. Yeah. Any other sort of points, questions people want to sort of... Yes, Jim?
Question Patrick from Annan. When can we, should we, or will we ban the sale of still water in plastic bottles? We've got a thing called a tap, at least I have. You know, why is industry allowed to do stupid things and charges for it? Because plastic, water in plastic bottles, still water in plastic bottles is not cheap. Or am I like Elijah, John the Baptist, a lone voice crying in the wilderness?
No, I personally don't think you are a lone voice, but it is a government thing at the end of the day, that is. Although I suspect again that, seeing Tom with his water bottle there, look, I'm looking at Kath now behind Tom. Lots of students would bring their own water bottles into lectures and things now. That is changing quite a lot, isn't it? So there is a change going on, but it's not fast enough to do what you're saying. I wouldn't invest in a water company that sold water in plastic bottles. I wouldn't think it was a very good long-term investment, because I think what you're wanting will come, it's how quickly it will come. Sorry, lady over at the end.
Hi. So I'm not from here. I'm from Portugal. We have horrible water in our taps. It's not like here. Here I don't remember buying water except if it is like a situation like an airport or something. But in Portugal we have filters. So, and there we are poor. So we don't buy water there. We buy the filter and we put it in the tap. Because before people were talking about cigarettes, I was a smoker as well. And I can talk about a little bit of areas that were mentioned here. So while in school, while in primary school and stuff, I was in the anti-cigarettes brigade. And then I became a smoker. And then, I was smoking and whatever, and then it came the images, and we got the little boxes where we put the cigarettes. And the only thing that made me stop was the price of the cigarettes. The thing that makes people stop buying water is the price of the bottle versus the price of reselling. The thing that makes iron blue changing recipes is the taxes that come from the sugar. It's everything that attacks the money and the profit of the companies. And it's true that it's very hard to change politics, but it is the way. It's to increase taxes that are related to the plastics from the factories. It cannot be everything in the user, because we are in our home with this idea that, we put everything to the recycling and whatever, and then we have all these problems that it's mixed plastics and whatever. I have no idea about, well, I do, but as a, let's say that I'm a common person and I have nothing to do with this recycling. I'm doing my best, and I'm having zero impact. Zero impact. And it's just frustrating. And then people hear that they send things to the recycling, and in the end they are just burned, in the end they are just in the landfill. And that I understood now that here it doesn't happen, but in a lot of places all around the world it happens. And then it was very good to see the first speaker about the plastics traveling all around the world, and someone commented that the plastics here are a little bit less than in Asia and other less economically well countries because of sending things over. And now China said that they don't want the low quality plastics anymore, so now no one knows what to do with them. And now suddenly we are a little bit more similar. It needs to be the money where it actually changes things, so the people that are getting rich from selling these things.
I take what you say. It's a big topic. I disagree with you where you say what you do doesn't have any effect. I think what you do has a small effect, but all those small effects will work together eventually. And I think pull this session to an end on the one question to people. I've said what I'm going to do next week is that sort of talking more. But I would like people, is there something that you think here we can do? Not go and ask the government to do it, but what can we do? Have you got a great idea, Kate? Yes.
I hope so.
I'm sure you have.
It's great that Dumfries Devorgilla have raised this issue in Dumfries tonight, but Rotary is Rotary International. I don't think we've been many in this room that haven't travelled internationally. You go to an airport, and with the liquid restrictions, you cannot take water through. You have to purchase water at the other side. Why are there not free water dispensing points? When you go and there are flights delayed, etc., you end up unable to get water.
No, there are taps at Edinburgh.
At Edinburgh, it's just insufficient. Once you've got through that gate, you cannot get.
Yes, you can. Yes, there's a tap. Literally, as soon as you've gone into through.
Kate, come on holiday with me, and I'll show you where they are.
That's the caravan.
That's enough that you can refuse.
I think at that point we are pretty close to time. We've got to keep to time, so I'll hand over to Andrew.